Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wedding album that should have brought joy to her heart. Instead, she kept seeing the one empty space where her mother should have stood proudly beside her. "She chose a vacation over my wedding," she whispered, her voice breaking as she touched the photo. Her husband, Adam, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't deserve that pain, Emma," he said softly. But the pain was older than the wedding. It came from 29 years of being the forgotten child. And 3 months earlier she finally said, "Not this time." Before she ever spoke those words, Emma lived a life where love felt like something she needed to earn. On her small YouTube channel she often asked, "Where are you watching from today?" hoping someone out there understood what it meant to feel unseen by your own family. She grew up in a quiet suburb of Minneapolis, a place with perfect lawns but messy hearts. Her parents, Linda and George, had 2 children, but acted like only one deserved attention. Her younger brother, Jake, arrived when she was 3, and from that moment, Emma slowly faded like a shadow at sunset. She remembered her first real taste of invisibility like it had happened yesterday. 8-year-old Emma sat at the kitchen table clutching her report card, full of 5 A's and 1 A-. Her small hands trembled with pride as she waited for her parents to walk through the door. But when Linda came home, her eyes skipped right over Emma and went straight to Jake's backpack. "Look at this," Linda cheered, lifting Jake's report card filled mostly with C's. She placed it on the fridge with her special magnets. When Emma quietly handed hers over, Linda said, "That's nice, dear. Don't show off." The pattern continued with painful precision. Emma spent months practicing for her piano recital, staying up late until her fingers ached. But on the night of the performance, 2 empty seats in the front row stared back at her. Linda and George had gone to Jake's Little League game instead, where Jake spent most of the time sitting on the bench. Backstage, her teacher Mrs. Harris squeezed her trembling hands and whispered, "You played beautifully, Emma." But all Emma heard was the silence where her parents' applause should have been echoing through the auditorium. That silence lived deep inside her. Her 16th birthday was supposed to be magical. Emma had been planning it for months, saving babysitting money for decorations and a small celebration with friends. But 2 days before the party, Jake announced he wanted a new gaming console. Cost $400. That afternoon, Linda canceled Emma's birthday, claiming finances were tight and Jake needed the gift for his emotional growth. On the night Emma should have been celebrating, she sat in her room listening to Jake cheer loudly downstairs as he unpacked his new console. It was the moment Emma realized her sacrifices had become routine. The years rolled forward, and the sacrifices only grew. When Emma earned a partial scholarship to a top university, Linda barely reacted. "I just hope Jake won't feel discouraged," she murmured, as if Emma's success was an insult to her brother. Later that year, Jake barely graduated high school, yet Linda threw him a huge celebration with decorations and a photographer. Emma stood in the corner watching Linda gush. "My baby boy finally found his path." Meanwhile, Emma's own achievements were brushed aside like dust. Her father, George, simply nodded at her, always saying, "Whatever your mother thinks is best." George felt more like a quiet shadow than a parent. He worked long hours as an accountant and rarely spoke, letting Linda make every decision. When Emma tried to talk to him about her feelings, he would clear his throat and whisper, "Just try to keep peace, all right?" He never defended her, never questioned Linda's favoritism. Sometimes Emma wondered if he even remembered her middle name. But there was one person who saw the truth, her grandmother, Ruth. Ruth lived 20 minutes away, her small craftsman home smelling of cinnamon and old books. And she had a sharp eye for injustice. During holiday dinners, Ruth would watch Linda hover over Jake, cutting his food or praising him for the smallest effort. She'd glance at Emma with frustration simmering behind her glasses. "You're worth 10 of them," Ruth would whisper while drying dishes beside her. "Never forget that, sweetheart." Emma clung to those words like a lifeline. Ruth's home became her refuge. On quiet Saturday afternoons, Ruth would sit knitting in her rocking chair while Emma studied. "One day," Ruth would say softly, You'll build a life better than anything they ever offered. But don't wait for their approval. It'll never come. Emma took that advice and shaped her future with determination. She crushed her university classes, graduated with honors, and built a career in marketing with relentless focus. By 26, she became the youngest director at her company. When she proudly called Linda to share the news, Linda barely listened. "That's nice. Anyway, Jake finally found his passion," she said. "Video games. He's so talented, Emma. You should see him beat levels." Emma stared at the phone, sick inside. Jake was 23, unemployed, and living in their basement, yet Linda spoke like he was a rising star. Emma whispered, "Congratulations," and hung up. Despite everything, Emma still sent money home whenever Linda claimed they were struggling. Only years later did she realize why. Every dollar she sent was poured into Jake's endless hobbies. First it was an expensive guitar for a music phase that lasted 3 weeks. Then photography equipment that gathered dust in the closet. Then cooking classes he quit after burning water. At family dinners, Emma brought wine and paid the bill when Linda forgot her wallet. Meanwhile, Jake arrived late, criticized the food, and contributed nothing. Emma tried to talk about her company's achievements, but Linda stared right through her. Everything began to shift the day Emma met Adam at a marketing conference in Chicago. He was calm, attentive, and surprisingly funny for a software expert. During the networking session, he found her near the coffee table and said, "Mind if I join you?" They ended up talking for 3 hours straight. On their first date, Emma apologized 8 times, for talking too much, for not talking enough, for choosing the wrong wine. Adam finally reached across the table and said gently, "Emma, you don't need to apologize for existing." She burst into tears, shocked that someone finally saw her. Over the next year, Adam became the first person in Emma's life who treated her with genuine care. He celebrated her promotion with flowers, attended her presentations, and learned her friends' names without being asked. He noticed the little things: how she always wore blue, how nervous she got around her family, how she laughed when she finally felt safe. When he proposed at the art museum in front of her favorite painting, Emma didn't even let him finish. "Yes!" she cried, tackling him in excitement while a security guard looked on nervously. Adam just laughed and held her tighter. But Emma's joy faded the moment she called her mother with the news. Linda answered with her usual worried tone. "Emma, is everything okay?" When Emma said, "Mom, I'm engaged," there was a long pause. Instead of excitement, Linda asked coldly, "Will Jake be the best man?" The question cut Emma deeply. Adam wrapped his arm around her waist, silently supporting her. Emma hung up soon after, unable to hear another word. Adam kissed the top of her head and whispered, "I'm here, okay? You don't need her approval to be happy." Emma nodded, holding her breath to steady herself. Wedding planning became a battlefield. Emma and Adam wanted something small and elegant. 50 guests, a beautiful mansion venue, soft colors, and simple decor. But Linda called the next morning, demanding that Jake's girlfriend, Kara, be added as a bridesmaid. "She's practically family," Linda insisted. "It would be cruel to leave her out." Emma tried to explain she already chose her bridesmaids, but Linda cried loudly, saying, "I can't believe how selfish you are. This isn't how I raised you." Adam sat beside Emma during the call, squeezing her hand and whispering, "Hold your boundary. You're doing great." The venue became the next problem. Emma loved the historic mansion in the city, especially its garden ceremony space. But Linda called again, complaining, "Jake hates city traffic. Pick somewhere closer to home." Emma calmly said, "The venue is already booked," then ended the call before the guilt could sink in. When Save the Date cards went out for October 15th, Linda called within days. "October is Jake's busy season," she warned. "What if something important comes up for him?" Emma swallowed her anger and answered, "The date is set, Mom." But inside something began to crack. Dress shopping felt like another dream stolen. Emma booked 3 appointments, hoping for one magical moment with her mother. But Linda cancelled all three. First, Jake needed a ride. Then Jake was having a bad day. Finally, Kara wanted to look at apartments they couldn't afford, and Linda insisted she must support her. Emma stood alone on the bridal salon platform, the mirror reflecting a bride with no mother beside her. The saleswoman tried to be kind, but pity hung in the room like fog. Emma blinked hard, whispering, "It's fine. I don't need her for this." Though it hurt deeply. Just when Emma felt completely alone, her grandmother Ruth walked through the salon doors, breathless from the wind. "I heard you were here alone," Ruth said firmly. "Not my granddaughter." Emma broke down in tears as Ruth held her close. They spent 3 hours trying dresses until Emma found the perfect A-line gown with delicate beadwork. Ruth wiped her eyes and whispered, "You look just like I did at my wedding." Before leaving, Ruth insisted on paying for the dress. "This is what mothers do," she said pointedly. Emma nodded, understanding the deeper meaning behind her words. Adam's family welcomed Emma with open arms. His parents, Sarah and Daniel, drove up from Indianapolis with champagne and a photo album they'd started for the couple. Sarah hugged Emma warmly, saying, "We're so happy to have you in the family." Emma excused herself to cry in the bathroom, overwhelmed by a kindness she had never known. Sarah followed quietly, handing her a tissue. "You're safe with us," she said softly. When they hosted an engagement party, Emma's parents were invited but never showed up. Jake had an important online match, and Linda insisted they needed to support him. As the wedding approached, Emma and Adam stopped sharing details with Linda. Every update turned into criticism or emotional manipulation. Linda complained about the rehearsal dinner restaurant. She threatened not to come if Jake didn't get to give a speech. She tried inviting 30 of her own friends. Emma held firm, each boundary making Linda louder and more dramatic. "Why are you being so cold?" Linda cried during one call. George occasionally phoned to say, "Just agree with your mother. Keeping peace is important." But Emma had learned something with Adam. Keeping peace by sacrificing yourself was no peace at all. 2 months before the wedding, everything collapsed. Emma and Adam were cooking dinner when Linda called, sounding strangely cheerful. "I have wonderful news," she announced. "Jake needs a vacation. We're taking him to Hawaii." Emma asked, "When are you going?" Linda replied casually, "Oh, we already booked it. We leave October 13th. Adam turned off the stove immediately. Emma froze. "Mom, my wedding is October 15th. Linda sighed. "Don't be dramatic. We'll figure something out. Maybe we can fly in for the ceremony, then go right back." Emma stared at the phone, realizing her worst fear was real. Emma felt her heart crack as Linda continued talking like nothing was wrong. "Jake has been so stressed," Linda went on. "The ocean will heal him." Emma whispered, "Mom, you've known my wedding date for 6 months." Linda laughed lightly. "Well, we already paid for the tickets. They're non-refundable. You wouldn't want to disappoint Jake, would you?" Adam stepped closer, placing a steady hand on Emma's back. Emma's voice trembled. "What about disappointing your daughter?" Linda replied sharply. "Stop being selfish. A wedding is just one day. Jake's mental health is more important." Adam quietly reached for the phone. Adam's voice was calm but firm as he spoke. "Mrs. Wilson, this is Adam. We're going to hang up now. The wedding is October 15th. We hope you'll reconsider." He ended the call before Linda could respond. Emma collapsed into his arms, sobbing as the weight of 29 years pressed into her chest. "They won't come," she whispered. Adam held her tightly. "Then we will surround you with people who want to be there." 3 weeks later, Linda called again, not to apologize but to confirm the Hawaii trip. "We leave on the 13th. Jake is excited," she said. Emma said nothing. Adam took the phone gently from Emma's hand. "So you're confirming you won't attend your daughter's wedding?" Linda scoffed. "Don't make this bigger than it is. We'll celebrate when we return. Maybe George can walk her down the aisle later if it matters so much." Adam's jaw tightened. "We understand," he said, then ended the call. Emma leaned against the counter, shaking. The RSVP card on their fridge still read, "Joyfully accepts," mocking her. "I need to call Grandma," Emma whispered. Ruth answered immediately. After hearing the news, she sighed deeply. "I hoped they'd change. But I'm not surprised, sweetheart." Ruth spoke gently but honestly. "I kept a journal of every time they failed you. Every missed birthday, every ignored achievement. I prayed they would choose you just once." Emma cried softly. "Why don't they love me?" Ruth answered. "Your mother sees you as competition. Jake is her perfect project. You became too independent, too capable. She couldn't control you, so she dismissed you." Emma felt the truth settle heavily in her chest. The next morning, Jake texted her. "Sorry sis. Enjoy your little wedding thing." Emma stared at the message, stunned. Adam saw it, frowned, and blocked Jake immediately. With Emma's family disappearing emotionally, Adam's family stepped in like a warm blanket. Sarah called daily, offering help with anything Emma needed. She organized the rehearsal dinner, arranged decorations, and made sure Emma felt supported. Daniel cried when Emma asked if he would walk her down the aisle. "It would be an honor," he said, wiping his eyes. Emma's friends formed a protective circle around her. Her maid of honor, Claire, planned a beautiful bridal shower. Her college roommate, Mia, flew in to help with final details. And her co-worker-turned-friend, Amy, filtered every call to protect Emma's peace. Still, nights were the hardest. Emma lay awake imagining her wedding without parents, wondering why she had never been enough for them. She pictured the empty chairs at the ceremony, the mother-daughter moments she'd dreamed of since childhood. On the morning of her wedding, she awoke to a crisp Chicago sky, sunlight pouring through the hotel windows. Her bridesmaids surrounded her with laughter and breakfast trays. But when her phone buzzed, her heart leapt. Maybe, just maybe, they'd changed their minds. Instead, she read Linda's message from Hawaii. "Having my ties in Maui. Hope your day goes well. Love you." Emma broke. Claire caught Emma as she began to crumble. Amy cursed under her breath. Mia grabbed tissues. The makeup artist had to start over completely. Then Ruth arrived, wearing the navy dress they had picked together. She took one look at Emma's tears and pulled her close. "Their absence is their loss, not your failure," she whispered. She handed Emma a small box containing an embroidered handkerchief. "Your grandfather carried this at our wedding," she said softly. "He would be so proud of you." Emma tucked it into her bouquet, grounding herself with the love she did have. The photographer arrived full of energy and kindness. She captured photos of Emma laughing with her bridesmaids, Ruth adjusting Emma's necklace, and Emma gazing at herself in the mirror with quiet strength. When they reached the venue, guests filled the seats. Everyone except the two who were supposed to be in the front row. Sarah stood waiting in the lobby and gasped when she saw Emma. "You look breathtaking," she whispered. Daniel wiped his eyes. "Mark is going to lose it," he said, using Adam's first name by mistake in his excitement. Emma smiled nervously as the ceremony music began. Claire squeezed Emma's hand before walking down the aisle. Emma stood alone at the doors until Daniel appeared, offering his arm. "I'm not your father," he said gently, "but I would be honored to walk with you." Before Emma could answer, Ruth stepped up on her other side. "I helped raise this girl," she announced proudly. "I'm walking too." They each took one of Emma's arms. Halfway down the aisle, Sarah stood and joined them, tears streaming down her face. The photographer later called the shot the family Emma deserved. At the altar, Adam cried openly when he saw her. The ceremony felt like magic. Adam held Emma's hands and promised, "You will never question your worth again." Emma vowed to build a life filled with love, not longing. When they kissed, the whole room erupted in applause. The reception was joyful but bittersweet. When parent dances began, Emma stood alone until Daniel approached. "May I have this dance?" he asked. After a few moments, Ruth tapped his shoulder. Then Adam's grandfather. then Emma's mentor, then Adam. By the time the song ended, Emma had danced with 6 people who chose her. The photographer caught every beautiful moment. During the toasts, Claire spoke carefully, avoiding any mention of Emma's parents while praising the strength it took for Emma to build her own life. Adam's best friend made everyone laugh with old stories. Then Ruth stood, her presence commanding quiet. I watched Emma grow from a little girl begging for scraps of attention into a woman who knows her worth, she said. Today she gains not just a husband, but a family who shows up. Emma cried openly as Adam wrapped an arm around her. For the first time, she felt surrounded by people who truly chose her. They danced until midnight, guests cheering as Emma and Adam left under a shower of bubbles. In the limo, Adam pulled her close. How do you feel? He asked softly. Emma whispered, I feel married, feel loved, and I feel free. The next morning, while they had breakfast in bed, Emma's phone exploded with notifications. Linda had posted pictures from Hawaii, Jake smiling with tropical drinks, captions about a mother's joy. Relatives asked why she wasn't at the wedding. Linda replied, Emma had her little ceremony. We'll celebrate later. Adam grabbed the phone. Not today, he said calmly. But the tension lingered when they returned from their honeymoon. Linda left a voicemail saying, send wedding photos. People keep asking why I haven't posted mother of the bride pictures. Emma sent one group photo where the empty chairs weren't visible. Linda complained immediately. This doesn't show Jake. Can you edit him in? It would mean so much to him. Adam let out a short laugh. Is she serious? He asked. Christmas didn't help. Emma hosted a warm dinner, but Linda arrived late with Jake and a massive gift. Another gaming chair. Then Linda handed Emma a tiny gift bag containing a clearance candle. After dinner, Linda talked for 45 minutes straight about Hawaii, never once asking about Emma's wedding or honeymoon. New Year's Eve brought more chaos when Linda called at 2 a.m. screaming that Jake had been arrested for drunk driving. You need to help us, Linda pleaded. Emma took a deep breath. Mom, Jake is 27. He made this choice. Linda gasped. You're heartless. Ever since you married Adam, you've changed. Emma answered. You're right. I finally learned boundaries. She hung up and turned off her phone. Adam wrapped his arms around her. You did the right thing, he whispered. A few months later, Emma earned another promotion. Vice President of Marketing. She called Linda, still hoping for a hint of pride. Instead, Linda said, That's nice. Perfect timing, actually. Jake wants to open a gaming lounge. He needs investors. Maybe you can give $30,000 to help your brother succeed. Emma nearly dropped the phone. Does he have a business plan? She asked. Oh, please, Linda scoffed. Jake has passion. That's worth more than paper. When Emma refused, Linda hung up in anger. 3 days later, George called gently. Maybe just give $5,000. To keep peace. Emma's heart went cold. Dad, Emma whispered, holding her forehead. You didn't even come to my wedding. None of you did. George sighed heavily. You were always difficult, Emma. Why can't you be easy like Jake? The words hit her harder than expected. Because Jake lives in the basement and nearly wrecked his life, she replied. But thanks for reminding me where I stand. Mother's Day arrived with another blow. Emma sent Linda an expensive bouquet with a heartfelt note. That evening, Linda posted on Facebook, praising Jake for making her breakfast in bed. There was no mention of Emma. Not even a thank you. That week, Emma started therapy. Her therapist, Dr. Lewis, explained terms she had never heard. Scapegoat child, golden child, narcissistic parent. You've been cast in a role you never agreed to, Dr. Lewis said. The only way to win is to stop playing. Emma cried through most sessions, grieving the mother she wished she had. As her first wedding anniversary approached, she dreaded the inevitable drama. Her assistant knocked one afternoon. Your mother is on line 1. She says it's an emergency. Emma answered cautiously. Mom, what happened? Linda said. You need to come home. It's about Jake's future. Emma drove there with Adam despite every warning sign. The house looked frozen in time. Jake's posters in the windows, his weights on the porch. His presence everywhere while Emma's old things had vanished long ago. Inside, Jake lounged on the couch playing video games. Linda rushed forward with false warmth. "Emma, I made your favorite cookies." Emma glanced at the oatmeal raisin batch, her least favorite. Linda then presented Jake's business plan, clearly downloaded from the internet. "We took a second mortgage for him," Linda announced proudly. Emma froze. "You mortgaged your house for this," she whispered. Jake smirked. "We just need your $30,000 to finish everything," he said, eyes never leaving the screen. Emma stared at him. "I'm not giving you money." Linda snapped. "It's not giving. It's investing in family." Emma exploded. "Family? You skipped my wedding for a vacation. You've ignored me for years. What exactly am I investing in?" Linda shouted back. "Let it go. It was one day," Emma said quietly. "It was the only day." When George muttered, "We raised you," Emma answered. "That's the legal bare minimum. You didn't love me. You just tolerated me." Emma opened her banking app while they watched in horror. She transferred every remaining dollar from the joint account she'd used to help them, then closed it. "Julia, Emma, what are you doing?" Linda cried. "Taking back my life," Emma answered. She canceled the credit card they used, the phone plan, the insurance. All of it. Jake stood shouting insults. Emma walked to the door. "You want to know something sad?" she said softly. "If you had shown up to my wedding, I probably would have helped you today. But now, I'm done." She left them behind, finally free.